Hello everyone, it is Peggy McCall and I'd like to welcome you to the monthly Proctor Gallagher Institute Open Q&A call, and I am absolutely pleased to be here with you today and address all the questions that were submitted. We do have quite a few questions. They're all fabulous questions. What I'm going to do is on the PowerPoint presentation that you're seeing, I'm going to go through, I'll scroll through page after page after page of these questions and address them one at a time. And I suspect that you'll find there are some similar questions in all of this, but either way, I think you're not only going to enjoy the questions, but you'll definitely enjoy the answers as well. So we're going to start with Mark. Mark says, I keep experiencing very negative events while getting positive outcomes. How do I attract more positive events to do the same job? It's been like climbing mountains just to gain 1 inch of progress. So I'm not sure exactly what that means, Mark, but I suspect that there's a desire here to experience much more positive outcomes, as you're saying and as you're asking. And even mountain climbers actually experience a lot of challenges with the progress. But I think what it comes down to is paying attention to what you're allowing into your mind, into your conscious mind, paying attention to what your thoughts are, paying attention to what creative actions you're taking as it relates to the outcomes that you are, and then becoming increasingly more aware of not only your creative power, but how that impacts the results that you're experiencing. So if there's a level of perhaps dissatisfaction with the outcomes that you're getting, it could be because of a number of things. And there could be some things that aren't even easy to understand or explain. But ultimately, what we want to be doing is we want to be controlling how we're thinking, and we want to be controlling how we're feeling. And gratitude is a wonderful, creative, productive emotion. So when we're talking about progress, and you're going to see in this open Q&A call that we're going to be covering in the next hour, is that there are a lot of questions around progress. There's questions about how or why we don't see the results we want when we want them. And the part I believe that a lot of people really have challenges with is this law of gestation, or the period of time that it takes for all things to manifest into form. Our responsibility, your responsibility, my responsibility, is to really determine what kind of outcomes do we want. Get very clear on what those outcomes are. And then the next step is to really evaluate and get an answer on how does that feel when we're having those outcomes. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're focusing on. And so we'll do things that condition ourselves to only focus on the types of outcomes that we desire. And even though other events occur or are produced, it's quite often from what you've been thinking about in the past. So whatever we're experiencing today in our life is going to be based on what were we thinking before, what were we feeling before, what habits were we engaged in that clearly demonstrate where our own paradigms are. And if we can look at that simply as an observer, not to judge ourselves, not to feel bad about it, but to just simply look, okay, if I look at the events that are occurring in my life right now, and I believe that I've been doing a positive job. It could be that it's just going to be a period of time before the results that you desire are going to occur. But in that spirit of it, like staying in the spirit of imagining the results that we want, we can also be grateful. We've been grateful for that 1 inch of progress, grateful for the event as if it's already done, and stay in that place. Now, it can be a challenge, especially if things aren't happening the way you want to be, but that is the process, or that's the flow of how it works. So my suggestion is to really pay attention to yourself, to your creative process, to the thinking stuff, to what you're focusing on, to what goals you've set for yourself. Are you in alignment with them? And are you in a spirit of gratitude? Those would be my suggestions. Okay, let's go on to Anastasia. Anastasia says, I want to be in the movie industry. By chance, I started working for a movie producer. I also felt called to help others and was hired in a field where I can do that. How do I choose which road to take? Well, sometimes the road that we take to get to where we want to go isn't always what we think or what we thought would be the way to get there. I'll give you an example of that. A number of years ago, I made a decision that my mission in life is to make a positive contribution to the lives of millions. Now, I didn't know how that was going to be, and it would be in the industry of personal and professional development. That much I knew. There was an assumption. I thought it would be in the process of being a mentor, seminar leader, and a speaker. But what ultimately happened was I ended up becoming an author, which was not initially planned. I became an author, not of one book, but now of 13, working on my 14. And then I started to find that a lot of other people were asking me to not only help them with goal achievement ideas or concepts, but they also wanted me to help them with their books. And then really successful people started reaching out and asking me for help with their books. And I remember when I was first asked by Robin Sharma to help him, and I remember thinking the thought, this is not really the business or the way that I thought would get me to where I want to go. But I was open to it, and I stayed open to it, because what happens is sometimes the universe will reveal to you maybe a different way or different method of getting to where you want to go, and you have to trust that. See, our responsibility, your responsibility is wanting to be in the movie industry. What's the clarity around that? Exactly what is it you want to be doing? How do you want to be showing up? What kind of role would you love to play in the movie industry? And even if you don't know exactly what that is, what's it going to feel like when you're doing the kind of work that you want to be doing? That's the important thing to focus on. So wanting to be in the movie industry, how do I choose which road to take? Just start to really pay attention to what feels good to you. What inspires you? Where do you feel more drawn to or drawn toward? And then follow that. Trust your intuition. Your intuition is one of your faculties. Really trust it. Sometimes it's a matter of getting quiet and really paying attention. But when you get opportunities, just notice what your intuitive sense is saying and decide, is this something that's going to take me in the direction of my goal, or is it not? And if it is, it should be a very easy decision for you. Hopefully that helps, Anastasia. Connor says, I have started a business and would like to know if I should spend $1,300 on CPA services, even though I do not have any sales history, to know how much I will make in the coming weeks. So CPA services, you were talking about CPA, so accountant, I'm guessing, some accounting, maybe some bookkeeping services. Well, if you're setting up the business, I suspect that perhaps those fees are going to be to set up your business in a very effective way, in a very professional way. And if so, well, it may be necessary to invest that kind of money. When I incorporated my company back in 1994, I really didn't know back then what I was doing. I had a desire to start a business. I did not have entrepreneurial parents. I did not have anyone that was privately mentoring me to build a business, and nor had I had any formal education, but I had the desire. So I decided to learn, and in the city where I lived, they had an entrepreneurial center where you could go and get advice. One of the things that was advised is to get an accountant very early in the game so that you could establish your company effectively, properly, so that you really set it up to win. And so that's one of the things that I did. I started working with an accountant back in 1994 when I incorporated the company, and I still work with that same accounting firm. So sometimes in the business or in a business, when we're setting up a business, there are expenses that don't seem tied to revenue, or they're not directly tied to revenue, but they're a necessary part of really establishing a solid business that's doing business in a very what's the word I'm looking for, honest and ethical way. All right, let's go to the next question. We have a question from Rebecca. Is it typical to go through more than one terror barrier? I went through one at the start of the program and one during the winner's image work we are doing. So Rebecca's asking, is it typical to go through more than one terror barrier? I have probably gone through hundreds of terror barriers in my life. And I believe that if you're not hitting the terror barrier, you're not growing, you're not stretching. And so, yeah, it's very typical to hit terror barriers. And we hit the terror barriers when we are at a point where we are looking to have a breakthrough experience, where we're challenging the existing paradigms that are within us, where we've got a desire for more or to experience some kind of a breakthrough. So, yes, it's definitely typical to go through more than one terror barrier. Patrick says, how do I connect with people the way Bob does? I want to be in this business and have a large audience so I can provide my services to their clients. How do I make that step? I think that's a really great question, Patrick. And I would say that Bob is what he calls in the spirit of his teachings. I was at Bob's home about a week and a half ago, and I said to Bob, I said, you know, Bob, I saw you speak 40 years ago, and you were a powerful speaker back then. Like quite often we see speakers and we'll see their growth. We'll see them when they first start and they're not that good, and then you can see they get better and better. And it's almost like a progression that we see in front of our eyes. But with Bob, when I first saw him speak 40 years ago, he was just as compelling and effective and strong and inspiring of a speaker that he is today. And I asked him, you know, where I was at his home, and I said, Bob, how is it that you were so good back then? Like, what was it that, you know, created that sense of really owning the stage and connecting with the audience the way you do and did? And he thought about it for a minute, as Bob would do, and he said, it's because I was in the spirit of the information. And that makes perfect sense when you think of Thomas Troward's lecture, entering into the spirit of it. Entering into the spirit of it means you're connected with it, right? You're fully engaged in the ideas and the concepts. So how do you connect with people the way Bob does? Enter into the spirit of the material. Really feel it, believe it, know it. That's how you make the step. The next question from Patrick is, I know in my heart all of Bob's teachings are the real deal and I believe in them, but I'm not seeing the results. What can I do to have a quantum leap in order for me to see my desired results manifest? Wonderful question, Patrick, and I suspect that's a question that a lot of people have, and I agree with you. I absolutely know in my heart Bob's teachings are the real deal, and I do believe in them. But if you're not seeing results, it could be it's just a matter of time. If you've already made the investment of time and energy and you continue to stay in the study, you know, create those paradigms that are going to support you, you will see your desired results, but it does take time. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people get frustrated with is how much time. I remember I started studying Bob in 1979. And I remember around 1993, I think it was somewhere around 1992, 1993, and I was just feeling this sense of frustration. And I remember thinking, just having this thought, it was almost like a fleeting thought, but it's a very destructive thought. And the thought was, this stuff doesn't work. And I was feeling frustrated because I was in a marriage at the time that wasn't working. And I was just thinking, you know, I worked all these years to get to where I am. And I just became almost like angry or frustrated. And it's like, why the heck is it not working? And I knew that in the moment that I had the thought, this stuff doesn't work, that I was contaminating. I was sabotaging. It's like pouring poison on a garden that's already been planted. We've got to recognize and trust in the power of this. It absolutely works, and I know it works because my life has been completely transformed, but it took longer than what I anticipated. But I would suggest, when I think about what Bob would say with this, like what you want to take a quantum leap, obviously the desire is there. That is a really good thing. That's a great place to be. The way that you take quantum leaps is by increasing and intensifying and accelerating your study, by really being in the study of the materials. One of the things that I committed to when 2019 began is that I would listen to my Power Life script, which is a description of my life as I choose for it to be, as if everything is already here right now. I made a decision that I would listen to it 7 times a day instead of 1 time a day. I used to listen to it just 1 time a day. Now I listen to it 7 times a day. Why? Because I made a decision at the beginning of the year that this year would be another quantum leap for me. And so I know from Bob's teachings that in order to have that quantum leap, I have to experience a quantum leap within me. How do you experience that quantum leap within yourself? Well, by studying more, by implementing more, and by really being the teachings, being the materials. So that's what I would suggest. Abby says, Bob often speaks how much childhood influences our paradigm. I have a 2-year-old. How do I improve her self-image as she grows up and her paradigm? Wonderful question, Abby. I would say you want to be saying the things to your daughter. Is it a daughter? Yes, she. To your daughter that are only supportive. Tell her how smart she is. Tell her how wonderful she is. Tell her how exceptional she is. You keep telling her things like that. Tell her how loved she is, what a loving being she is. Tell her about the potential that she has within her. You keep telling her those things over and over and over again, she will believe it. And you're going to create very strong paradigms within that young girl. So you want to be teaching and sharing or guiding her with only positive ideas. I have a grandson who's 7 years of age, and my grandson has been listening to Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale and me for many, many years. And when James gets in my vehicle, I'll go and pick him up and bring him over for the weekend or whatever. I am only playing positive materials. And if I'm watching something on TV, I'm very cautious about what goes on the television. I'm very cautious about the dialogue around him. And so what we do is we want to expose him to only positive things that are going to positively influence him and do that as much as possible. But as we know, we're not the only influence in our children's lives, because they're not only with us, but they're also in school and they're impacted by other people. But the more we can show up and be the best representation of success that we can demonstrate by who we are and then help guide them as well, that's the best thing that you can do. All right, the next question is from Michael. I work on changing my paradigm every day. It gets better, and sometimes I realize I slip back. I love everything I'm learning, but wonder, what am I missing to resolve this paradigm? Well, Michael, you know, we're human beings, and we're really wired and conditioned a certain way. Paradigms are very, very, very strong. I even find to this day, and I know Bob does too, that paradigms, not the positive ones, but every once in a while will show up. They're going to reveal their ugly head, if you will. And so it's not that you're missing something. You're human. It happens. I mean, everybody goes through that. But I think what's really valuable is that you're noticing it. And when you notice it, what you want to do is you want to auto-correct right away. It's like a plane that's taking off from one city and heading to another destination. It is going to be off track for a good part of the trip. Now, some people have said it's off track 80-some-odd% of the time. It's more off track than it is on track. And I believe we're a lot like that or similar to that, maybe not off track that much. But if you notice that you're noticing that you're slipping back, as an example, just be ready, boom, be armed and ready to put yourself right back on track again. How do you do that? Well, you can listen to audios. You can start to do more study. You can talk about these materials with other people. You could have affirmations. You can have your goal card. Whatever it is, techniques like ask yourself a wonderful question. What would I love? That's one of my favorite questions, and that'll put you right back on track. Larissa says, in TIR, Thinking and Results, Lesson 9 on Attitude, you talk about the law of polarity, where everything has an opposite. Does that mean you either have a good attitude or a bad attitude? There is no in between. Well, there's variations of attitudes. There may be a phenomenal attitude, and there may be a great attitude, and then maybe a good attitude, and there might be a mediocre attitude, and then there might be a so-so attitude, and then there might be a not the greatest attitude, and then a bad attitude, and then a maybe horrible attitude. So yeah, there are variations in between. But it's a scale. It's a scale that really has no end, either up or down. But it absolutely means that you're either got a good attitude or you have a bad attitude. So great question. And that's what I would say to that. Okay, Kendra has a question here. How do I tell an employee that they talk too much? Can a service-based company grow too fast, too soon through sales? I am not if we can hire enough staff to deliver quality service and come ahead as a company. All right, great. So let's start with the first question. How can I tell an employee that they talk too much? I remember one time watching a movie, and there was a line in the movie where they just said something like, well, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just tell them. And you can do it in a very loving way. If this employee is talking too much and it's detrimentally affecting what they're doing in their job or hurting somehow, some way, maybe others, then in a very loving way, you could present it to them saying, it's like, hey, so-and-so, like, I know that you deeply care. And find something that you can congratulate with them. It's kind of like a sandwich approach. So the sandwich is you say something good, then you tell them what you want to tell them, and you wrap it up with something good. So you could say something like, you know, I understand that you really do care about your job, and it's demonstrated by, you know, how you show up every day. But one of the things that we're noticing is that you tend to talk a lot to other people, and what that's doing is, you know, it's impacting other people's performance and your own. And we know that you have so much more potential than that. And what we'd really love to do is we'd love to help you to create and increase your productivity in your role, you know, something like that. So what did I do there? I just sandwiched it. So I shared with that person what I wanted to share, but I did it in a more positive light. Can a service-based company grow too fast, too soon through sales? Well, I don't know about too fast, too soon, and if your concern is about hiring enough staff, you may want to look at finding alternative ways. Maybe there's a way of outsourcing some of the customer service. There's always a way when you're committed to it. But finding people, I don't find to be a real issue. Maybe you can just start hiring now and start to get the people on board. But you might want to look at outsourcing as well. That could be a solution that definitely works for you. And another idea is to find people in your organization that are already there, that are wonderful people, because they tend to hang out with other wonderful people, and you can ask them of others that may be a good fit for the organization. Fabio is asking, what would you recommend for overcoming the fear of rejection and feelings of inferiority? I'm earning 18,000 euros a year. Thank you. I really appreciate what you do. All right, so fear of rejection and feelings of inferiority, I would work on self-image. I would work on how you feel about yourself. One of the things that Bob does, and he mentions this from stage all the time, is whenever there's someone who's looking to come and work for Proctor Gallagher Institute, he will ask them the question, what's the most amount of money that you've earned a year? And he says, I ask people that question not because I'm nosy. I want to know what they think they are worth. Because people's income is generally, not always, but most of the time, it's tied to how they feel about themselves. When you feel better about yourself, when you really believe in your worthiness and your value, your income will go up. But where does that come from? It comes from believing in yourself. So what you may want to do is create a self-image statement that's strong, that's supportive, that's very positive, that really helps you feel better about who you are. And I would create that. You can create it as an audio recording, and I would either say it every day or listen to it every day or both of those things, and I'd really work on my self-image. That's what I would suggest. Next question comes from, I'm not sure how to say the name, but I think it's Tung, maybe? Young Tung, maybe? And I apologize if I am not saying the name correctly. Bob said there are only 3% of people who have grand success. 3% is a very small number and hard to become a part of. How do you justify this? I would say that what Bob generally says is that 3% of the people are earning 97% of the money. It doesn't necessarily mean that only 3% are successful. He's just talking about the equation of money. You could actually be successful and not necessarily be earning a lot of money. I remember one time hearing Og Mandino define success. He said, if you're a stay-at-home mom and being with your children is something that you love to do and you're doing a really good job of it, you're successful. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a dollar earning that demonstrates that you're successful. So I think what Bob was saying is 3% of the people are earning 97% of the money. And the reason for that is because unsuccessful people are not willing to do the work that successful people are willing to do. And it's not that it's hard work. It's just paradigms that hold people back, and it's the lack of effort that holds people back. It's just the way it is in the world. That's why Wayne Dyer created a program called It's Never Crowded Along the Extra Mile, because it's not. I know that for a fact. Okay, the other question is, most authors are also speakers. What role should we take first? Either role would be fine. I was a speaker long before I was an author, but you could certainly be an author and then become a speaker. Whatever you decide, it would be perfectly fine. Sergio is saying, I've been trying to find a partner to start my company. Is starting it alone a good option? It is in the same area that I'm working in today. Yeah, you may find that starting it alone might be the best option, and then you may declare that you're happy and grateful that you attracted the perfect partner into your business. So I think you could define what that partner is, what are they like, what are their characteristics, how they're contributing to the company, how you work together in a complementary way, define what that is, and then you'll attract that person. So sure, you could definitely start it alone and then attract your partner later. I have a business associate, I call him a partner sometimes, that's working with me, who was running his own company. Now, I've been running my own company since 1994. And this person has been running his company probably about the same amount of time. And I knew he was running his own business, and I was running my own business, but I really wanted him to work with me full time. And so I just made him an offer, and I said, here's the deal. And it was a revenue sharing opportunity. And I said, if you're interested, let me know. And I was anticipating that he would make a very quick decision because he's a business person who makes decisions quickly. And as a result, he accepted my offer, and he's been working with me now for a year and a half full-time as a business partner of sorts, and it's working exceedingly well. All right, Filippo, I have young kids that I would like to grow up with an abundance of consciousness. I tell them the same affirmations I use for myself and made some for them to use as well. At the same time, they are influenced by reality we still live in. What is having the most impact on them? Well, that's a good question. You can probably tell what's having the most impact on them by the way that they're behaving. If you're finding that they're well-behaved and perhaps really in the spirit of what those affirmations are, you're probably having the biggest influence on them. But we aren't the only influence on our children. Television is an influence. Others are an influence depending on how much time they're spending. Like children invest a lot of time in school. They spend a lot of waking time in school. So that is having an impact on them as well. But, I think it really depends on the child. And like we've heard stories, I'm sure you've heard stories about children growing up in the same household. And one child goes on to be a raving success and the other one goes on to be a failure. What's the difference? It's what they focused on, what they choose to accept, and what happened in their influences as well. And so there are individuals, they get to make their own decisions as well. That's one of the great faculties that we've been given, is this ability to accept or reject ideas as they come to us. But there are so many things that are having a big impact on them. But I would think that if you're investing lots of time with your children, you're probably having the most impact on them. Sarah says, I'm focusing on my goal for 15 minutes daily. Should I be focusing on my ultimate goal or the stepping stone goal I'm wanting to achieve this year? I also have family goals, so when and how do I focus on these? Well, I would say, Sarah, that I'm focused on my goals all day long. It's something that I'm thinking about all day long. And yeah, I have my goal card, my CTUT goal, that's sitting here right beside me that I put on my desk when I'm working every day. I carry it with me all the time. I would suggest focus on your C-type goal. If there's a stepping stone goal to get to where you want to go, you'll very likely achieve it because you already know that there's that stepping stone goal there. But I'd be focusing on your ultimate goal. Also, your family goals, how do you focus on those? What I have is I have something called the Power Life Script process. This Power Life Script is a script of everything in my life that's important to me, from my family, including my husband, my son, my grandson, my daughter-in-law, my friends, to my business, to my clients, to the way we live, the homes that we own, the vehicles that we drive, my fitness, nutrition, everything. Our dogs are also in there. And so I listen to my Power Life Script 7 times every day, and it's about 27 minutes long. So that's how I focus on everything that's important in my life, because I think we should have some kind of a balance in our life. We can't just pursue these goals and forget about what's most important to us. So that way you keep everything in priority as it should, and you're focusing on your entire life. And frankly, your ultimate goal probably will positively impact other people in your life as well, including your family. From Pat. If the goal is too big for the frequency I am on, will it take longer to manifest? If so, would it be better to lower it some so making it become a reality will take less time? Well, that's an interesting question, Pat, because the same energy to manifest a big goal will manifest a small goal. So it's not too big or too small, only thinking makes it so. And I've heard Bob say that on a number of occasions. So if you have a desire to get to that goal, then just get on the frequency of it now. Right? Just imagine that it's already here. It's the same energy to manifest. There's a wonderful quote by Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich that says this: remember, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance, than it is to accept misery and poverty. No more effort. No more effort. It means the same energy to get on any frequency is the same energy to get on any frequency. So if you've got a big goal, go for it. Just get yourself on that frequency. That's why there's many people who have taken their annual income and made it their monthly income, which is another question that we're going to see in a few minutes. Okay, Malin says, Dear Peggy, I've been practicing with the idea of acting as if I'm already there, but I noticed that when I hit a terror barrier, it becomes rather challenging to stay in character. What do I do? Great question, Malin. It will become challenging to stay in character, as you say. What do? Keep at it. Intensify it. Really bring it home. Just get even more playful with the acting as if experience. What that will do, Malin, is it will strengthen you. It's going to cause you to feel even better about it. And you're going to blast through that terror barrier. When you're hitting the terror barrier, just know what you're up against. And it can be scary. We've heard Sandy Gallagher share that story from stage, when she was about to hit send and send that email off to say she's leaving the law firm. When she told the story about buying that multi-million-dollar home that's on the ocean, I totally can relate to that. I've done the same thing. And almost every time that it's happened, I'm asking myself, what are you doing, Peggy? Like, did you really need to stretch yourself this far? But yet, when I know that's going on, that's when I know I'm about to have a breakthrough. That's when I know I'm up against the terror barrier. So what do? I intensify my actions. I intensify the emotions. I will do more things. So instead of listening to my Power Life script 7 times, I'll listen to it 25 times. I'll pull out my goal card. I'll go to sleep with it. I'll listen to it all night long. I'll listen to audios all night long. I'll do whatever it takes to get to where I want to go. So I blast through the terror barrier, becoming stronger on the other side. Borsch says, knowing I attract what I think and feel makes my fear of becoming what I don't want even stronger. When I become aware of my fears and feel them, it puts me in a negative loop. How to stop this? Okay, great question. First of all, it doesn't do anything. We do it to ourselves, all of us. If we're feeling something, it's because we've interpreted something or our perception is not where it should be. So knowing I attract what I think and feel makes my fear of becoming what I don't want even stronger. There's a little video that it's a funny video, and it's kind of like a humorous video online, and they showed it actually last week at the Thinking and Results Consultant Training in Toronto. And it's a video with Bob Newhart, and he's playing a psychologist, and one of his patients walks in the room, and she sits down, and she has 5 minutes with him, and she says that every time I think of this, this happens. And he goes, stop it. And then she goes, okay. And then she starts talking about something else that's going on in her life, and he goes, stop it. Anyways, the joke of the whole video is the answer that Bob Newhart gives to this patient is stop it, stop it, stop it. And quite often, when you look at what are we hearing here in this question, fear of becoming what I don't want. That's from focus, right? So the answer is to stop focusing on what you don't want. Focus on what you would love. So when it comes up, here's what you do. As soon as you feel the fear coming up, just ask yourself, what would I love to experience? What is a better feeling state for me right now? You know that what you're thinking about is going to put you in, as you said, in a negative loop. So you want to stop it before it comes even stronger. You want to stop it. So you can ask yourself a question that allows you to switch away from what you don't want and move over to thoughts of only what you do want. So you ask yourself the question, what would I love? What would I love to experience? What would I love this outcome to be? You ask yourself a question like that. And then when you start thinking about what you'd love, then it takes your focus away. You start thinking differently. And then you could add another question. What is it going to feel like when I have that in my life? All right, it's going to feel great. And then you go straight to feeling. So I call this a 3-step process. 1, you notice that it's there. And boom, you just ask yourself a better question. What would I love? And then the 3rd step is you go straight to feeling. And when you do, you're reversing that process. You're moving your energy over to what you want, and that's where your focus is, and you're going to definitely feel a lot better. Okay, so Prakash, again, I apologize if I'm not saying the names properly, is asking the question, can you share me your daily routine and how do you write a life script? Okay, great question. So this question must obviously be for me because I don't know if Bob's written a Power Life script before. Anyways, what's my daily routine? The first thing I do, the moment I wake up, is I grab my gratitude journal and I write my gratitude statements. And I always write 10, sometimes 11 things in my gratitude journal every day. And they're only positive things. And I write them as if they're already here, even if they're not. And there's some things that are in my gratitude that are already existing in my life, and then there's some things that aren't, but I write them down as if they're already here. And then I read my affirmations. I have pages and pages of affirmations that are folded neatly inside my gratitude journal. So once I finish writing in my gratitude journal, then I read my affirmations and I read them out loud. My first page of affirmations I read 3 times before I go to the next page. Other things that I do are mirror work, where I look at myself in the mirror, eye to eye, and I say affirmations. I always say affirmations when I get out of the shower. I always listen to my Power Life script every day. Now I'm listening to it at least 7 times a day, and I've already listened to it 7 times today. And I make sure that I get that in as often or as early as I can. Also, part of my daily routine is study. I surround myself with books and audios and programs, and I study. And of course, I'm always focused on delivering as well. I have a pretty busy schedule. But how do you write your life script? I call it the Power Life Script. And actually, I have a whole program, powerlifescript.com, if you want to check it out. It's only $67. It's like dirt cheap. And I intentionally created it that way. And I go through the whole step-by-step process. I've got sample scripts. I've got audios recorded. But the idea is that you write out a description of your life using only positive words, as if you're already living the ideal life. And you write it with all the emotion that you can think of, so that you're creating vivid pictures, so that you can visually see it. More importantly, so that you can feel yourself living that life. So you can talk about the kind of home you're in, and what are you seeing in that home? What are you looking at when you look out the window? What kind of events are you having at your home? Who's there with you? Describe it, like give a real detailed description of what it's like. Even though you might not be living there now, describe the kind of business you're in, the kind of money you're earning, the kind of people that you're working with, how you feel doing the work that you're doing in the world, what your investments are, what your net worth is, the relationships that you have, how you feel about yourself. You just script it all out. No particular order, just however it is, whatever is most important to you. It can be as long or short as you want, and then you record it. And then you listen to it every single day. Some people, they read their Power Life script every day. I listen to mine every single day, multiple times a day. All right, let's go to the next question. Ahmed says, when exercising visualization, is it preferred to visualize images or scenarios? Is one way more effective than the other? Great question. It really comes down to feeling states. The idea of visualizing is so that you can feel the experience, right? So if it's images that you're seeing or scenarios, more active scenarios are typically a more effective way, because it's active, because you're seeing it, you're experiencing it. So you can visualize, like before we bought our waterfront home, I visualized sitting on the Muskoka chair at the side of the water, just staring out at the water, or watching, or my husband and I sitting on the deck and watching the sunset. Or I visualized us sitting around a fire, a campfire with our friends, and one of our friends being there playing the guitar. So that's like a scenario, right? So sometimes they're more active than others, but visualization is all about feeling states. You want to visualize to see so that you feel the experience in your heart. All right, next question from Tanya. If my goal is to accumulate $6 million by 11/29/2019 and earn $500,000 a month, is that clear enough of a financial desire to manifest according to TIR? Well, my suggestion is it's a great goal. I would stay in the spirit of earning $6 million a year, and that you're easily earning $500 a month, and really see that and feel that as if it's already here right now. But I would declare it as if it's here now. As Bob says, our consciousness doesn't know dates. Consciousness, what he says is consciousness is all about now. So you feel it as if you're doing it right now. I'm so happy and grateful, and I'm easily earning $6 million a year doing work that is deeply meaningful and contributing in the world in only positive ways. You could say something like that. Teria, I'm not sure how to say that name, but sorry again. Where do I draw the line between working towards my goal and becoming obdurate and thereby failing to reach it? What can I do to stay in the flow? Wonderful question. And it really comes down to that, staying in the flow. As Neville Goddard teaches, we must come from the goal. What does that mean? It means that we're in the flow, we're in the spirit of it already being here right now. That's why the Power Life script works so effectively, because it conditions your mind, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, to build the paradigms and the belief systems that are supportive of that. And so when we're talking about, you're talking about drawing the line between working towards your goal and becoming obdurate, it's really a matter of, it sounds like persistence to me. And persistence persistence and being stubborn actually are very closely aligned. So it might be just a subtle shift that occurs here. Maybe it's a perception thing. And rather than looking at it as being stubborn or obstinate or whatever, you can look at it as saying, I'm so happy and grateful. Like, if think about that for a moment. When you're happy and grateful that you've already achieved your goal, when you know it's already here, there's no need for any other negative emotion. There's a quote that I heard many years ago, and it was a quote by Deepak Chopra that goes like this, and I actually wrote an entire chapter about this in one of my books. Infinite patience produces immediate results. Infinite patience produces immediate results. What does that really mean? It means that when you know that what you desire is already here, you're feeling it. You are in the flow or in the experience or in the emotional state of it already being here right now. And that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. You don't want to be feeling like you're pushing or forcing or struggling. That's negative and that is destructive. So you want to really work on feeling like it's already there. You're in the spirit of it. It's already accomplished. The goal is already done. You're living from the place that your goal has already achieved. All right. Nellie says, how do I make room for money in my life? For example, if a person wants a vase, he or she makes room for it on the shelf where he or she wants to put it and pictures it there. How do I do the same for money? All right, well, that's a great question. How do I make room for money in my life? Well, I would suggest that you start to act as if you already have it. So if you have the money that you desire in your life, what are you doing with it? Where are you investing it? Where are you buying it? So making room might be room in your consciousness. It might be room in your activities. It might be things that you're looking at doing. I remember a number of years ago when money really started to pour in, I started to buy a lot of books on investment strategies. And I remember visiting my brother in Toronto. He lives just north of Toronto. And my brother has done very well in his life. He's a multi-millionaire. And I remember going to his home, and he had a whole section on his bookshelf, and almost every book that I had bought was on my brother's bookshelf. And I started asking him about these books, and we started to have dialogues around the content in these books because he had read the books and I had read the books. But I noticed what was occurring for me is that I had made room for the money, but made room for the investments as well, because I was starting to learn a little bit more about managing money better, having money work for me in my life, better ways of investment, great ideas for investment strategies and having your money grow. And so that's a way that you can make room for money in your life. And of course, when you're doing that, you're acting as if it's already there as well. Okay, Wayne says, if we visualize our ideal life and act as if we are already in possession of it, how does a person keep moving towards its attainment? Typically, once a person obtains something, they tend to slack on working to meet this goal. How do I avoid this? Great question. Well, I don't think I've ever had an experience of slacking off because we're usually driven. Like when we have a goal, the goal that we're working toward, especially when we're acting as if it's already here, it'll inspire us. It'll definitely influence us or give us the precipice to push us even, not push, but work even smarter and to actively be in the spirit of imagining that we already have that goal in our life. So if you're finding though, and I don't know whether you've had this experience or you're just curious about this idea, but if there's a slack off experience where you don't find that you're as engaged or working toward it, it might be that it's just not the right goal or that goal doesn't inspire you. But when you have a goal that stretches you, that you're inspired by, and that you're excited about, you're not going to slack off. You're going to definitely stay connected and feel the energization of having that goal already. Pat says, what is the best way to stay in a high vibration? Is it daydreaming, staying in constant gratitude throughout the day? Both? What else can I be doing to stay in this high vibration? Yes, it's that. It's visualization. It's connecting to your goal card. It's doing the act as if. idea, it is also studying, and it's listening to your Power Life script. They are absolutely the ways of staying in your high vibration. I would say for me, the way that I stay in high vibration is through my listening to my Power Life script over and over again, because I record it with lots of enthusiasm. And it's talking about my dream life as if it's already here. And that excites me, and it inspires me, and it constantly keeps me in a high vibration. Okay, Monica says, does it make a difference if I make my affirmations and writing my vision and goal in English, which isn't my first language? Well, it's what feels best to you. So Monica, if it felt better to write it in another language and listen to it in another language, do it in the language that you feel most comfortable with. That's what I would suggest. Mary is asking, when your thoughts become things, reality in your life, is there a way to keep it under control? As the more I think, it is coming into my life. Wow, that's awesome, Mary. Sounds like you are a master manifester. Is there a way to keep it under control? Yeah, by constantly defining and refining, like really refining what's happening for you. You see, we get what we desire, but sometimes if we're not clear on exactly what that is, then sometimes refinement is a good way to go. So you can refine what it really looks like in your life and only attract exactly what you desire. All right, from Judy. In Vedic studies, ancient India religious studies, I was taught that you can transcend to experience the divine through any of our senses. Why do you say that the senses are only of the material world? Okay, so that's probably for Bob. So why would Bob say that the senses are only of the material world, but you were taught that you can transcend to experience the divine through any of our senses? I think it's saying the same thing. My sense is that it's saying the same thing, and I haven't studied Vedic studies or ancient India religious studies, but I suspect that our senses is the way through, right, are only of the material world. Why do you say that the senses are only of the material world? I think they're similar. I don't think they're really that different. I don't know what Bob would say, but that might be a question you want to save for another call when Bob's on the call, because maybe he studied Vedic studies. I don't know. Monica is saying, I have a client in PGI who has some health challenges. I know through observation that she's doing much better since working and thinking in her results. See, she has mentioned a few times that she's still unwell. Procrastination seems to be an issue because she's exhausted and wants to sleep. I've given her some suggestions. What would you suggest? I would suggest that she really studies thinking in her results. Like if she really gives her focus to that, then she would not give any energy to not feeling well. She wouldn't mention it. She wouldn't say that she's not feeling well. She would only focus on being healthy and feeling at her best. So I would suggest that she really gets into deeper study with thinking and her results. Number 2, I have a client who is having a hard time connecting with the process of repetition while working in the Thinking and Results program. I've explained the importance of this is to create a new model of being to support their goals and create healthy habits. Yet, I'm receiving negative responses about the recordings. What would you say to this client? It's their paradigm in the way. That's all it is, the paradigms. Paradigms will try and hold people back. They're doing it all the time. Bob Proctor talks about your paradigms will put up a royal battle. They want to develop a new discipline. Maybe give them a technique so that they get into more healthy habits of doing this on a regular basis. Maybe create a checklist. And maybe have some accountability piece built in that they can just send you a note saying, I listened to the recording today, and that's all they have to do so that you can get them into the habit of studying the materials on a regular basis. From David, for Bob, what is a good affirmation for a child that has been diagnosed with cancer? Well, I don't know what Bob would say to that, but what I would say is that I'm healthy and happy. I live in a very healthy body. My body is completely healthy in every way. I would not use the word cancer in any affirmation whatsoever. What is it that they really would desire to be experiencing? Completely healthy, totally completely healthy body and mind. That's what I would create as an affirmation. I'm healthy in every way, in healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. Kimberly says, I have a personal parenting goal related to the safety and well-being of my 2 children who have experienced abuse. Can I also have a business goal, or would that fall under parenting goal, as I must be successful to provide? You can have as many goals as you want. I would absolutely have goals for business and for your children and recognize that they're safe and they're well. So yeah, you can have definitely multiple goals. Vowing to attract what I think and feel makes my fear of becoming what I don't want even stronger. When I become aware of my fears and feel them, it pulls me in a negative loop. Oh, okay, I think that was a question that was already addressed earlier. Yes, it was. Okay, Annika says, is it better to focus on a little goal or a big goal? Focus on a goal that stretches you. Focus on a goal that excites you and perhaps even scares you at the same time. That's what Bob calls a C goal. Okay, Gertrude, how can I show that I am an authentic leader? I've had a hard time with my team at the last event. Great question, Gertrude. I would suggest just stay in strength. Just see yourself as a wonderful leader, as an authentic leader. And, you know, even leaders have hard times. I think being authentic and real and using it as an example, maybe even teach people that when you're a leader and you're having challenging times, here's what I would suggest. You can turn it around, spin it to be a positive thing, and use it as a teaching experience. Ephraim says, what do you mean by your statement, we are a necessary part in the whole scheme of things? Without us, nothing moves in the order it moves. Okay, this is a question for Bob because I've heard him say that as well. And I think what he means is that everything is in perfect harmony in this world. We're a necessary part of it. Without us, a lot of things shift, right? So you may want to have that question be saved for Bob a little bit later as well. It's very philosophical. Jason says, the dollar amount of my goal increases every week. I'm seeing little changes in my results. Are the slow results what they should be, or could my paradigm be defending itself? Absolutely. Could be your paradigm. Very likely is your paradigm. Or it's just a matter of time, and your goal is going to manifest into physical form for you. Gary, how do I best overcome procrastination and limiting beliefs? Create some beliefs that are going to support you. Overcoming a procrastination comes down to taking action. Become an action taker. Become somebody that makes a list of the 6 things you're going to do every day, and you have that list in front of you, and you don't go to item number 2 until you've completed item number 1. Get an accountability buddy as well. That can definitely help you with procrastination. And create the beliefs and affirm them every single day that only support you in the direction of your goals, so that you see yourself and feel that you're already there. That's part of what I do every morning when I'm doing my affirmations. Hernan says, hi, I am in the attitude lesson and attended the goal seminar in January. I have a C goal, doing my daily homework. Things are starting to happen. How do you handle anxiety about the feedback received regarding our practice? Well, anxiety is an emotional experience, right? We're at choice whether we're going to feel that or not. But notice it's there and just decide to be more relaxed about it. So when you notice that anxiety is coming up, just notice it's there and just ask yourself, what's a better emotion that I could be experiencing right now? What am I going to choose to focus on right now that will have me feeling more calm? Just have some techniques or strategies that you're going to move from calm or move from anxiety to calm, and you can do it instantly. I actually released a morning money class today that's called How to Move from Overwhelm to Calm. And I posted it on Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, and LinkedIn. So you can look for my name, Peggy McCall, look for my morning money class, and you'll find it on any of one of those sites. It's on YouTube, it's on Vimeo, it's on LinkedIn, it's on my Facebook site. Find it and watch it. It got a lot of really positive response today. Okay, great. Annika is saying, regarding manifesting things into your life, what is better, to be focused on one thing, or is it okay to have several things at the same time going on? Well, I have a goal card, and on my goal card is one of my goals, but yet my Power Life script is my entire life, my dream life, as if I'm living it now. So I'm focusing on one thing. Yes, I have my goal card here, and I focus on that, but I also focus on every other aspect of my life. So the answer is, yeah, it's okay to focus on several things at the same time, but still have the focus on that one goal as well. Larissa says, I see things happening before it actually happens, not just for myself, but also for other people if I tune in. It feels like I'm having a conversation on the soul level. How would you describe my ability? Sounds to me like you're highly intuitive. You've got a great developed intuitive sense. And if you're seeing it so that you've got the visions, then I think that's amazing. We all have that capability, but very few people are really tuned in. But I love that you're seeing that you can tune into that. That's amazing. Good for you. Juliana says, do you change the paradigm the moment, or pardon me, do you change the paradigm the moment that you change the perception about it? Well, you start to absolutely start to change the paradigm. You're already having an effect, but you got to keep working on it because paradigms are strong. They took years to develop, and it'll probably take a while before you can change it. Okay, Maria, I'm sorry, I'm not saying the name properly. Do you have a team within your inner circle who markets to and works with corporations to help them transform and succeed? We need more male clinics in the healthcare world. I'm doing women's health workshops and have been asked to speak to 150 women. What would be the best topic to get them interested? Self-image? Absolutely, self-image is a great topic. Do we have a team within the inner circle who markets to and works with corporations to help them transform and succeed? I believe a lot of the thinking and results consultants are also working with individuals and corporations, and it absolutely helps transform them and succeed. And that was initially what the thinking was behind thinking and results when Sandy Gallagher first got that idea. She wanted to take it into organizations and help them improve their results. Lucija, first I want to thank you for all the knowledge you share with us. That's for Bob, I'm assuming. What are the 3 most important things every young people should know to live a happy life? 3 things. Okay, I'm going to give you not my 3 things. 1, that it's possible. I remember when Bob Proctor told me that if I wanted my life to change, I had to change. That was something I learned from him 40 years ago. So it's possible to create a phenomenal life. Number 2, that you got to do the work. There's work involved in this, and that you want to get in harmony with the goods that you desire. You want to feel the feelings that are going to support the lifestyle that you want. And so you've got to be willing and initiate the work that's involved. Number 3, study. Stay in the study. Stay in the study. Make a decision that you're going to study for the rest of your life. Bob talks about that all the time, that he studies and he will study until the day he dies. Okay, Jeppe, Arash told me that you provided a person in a restaurant with useful material for her personal development and left her with the impression of increase. So when do you give and when do you sell? I think Bob's giving all the time, all the time. He's even giving when he's selling because he's doing people a favor because he knows that they've got to invest in themselves in order to have positive change in their life. So I don't think Bob consciously sits there and thinks, when will I give, when will I sell? He's doing it all the time. He's selling people on the idea because he's so passionate about it. And he's constantly giving. I think every day he gets up and he gives. He's just the most giving person I've ever met. Okay, we're about top of the hour now, so I'm going to finish up with this question. If your question didn't get answered, I know that they will be holding it for the next Q&A call. So here's Niku, who says, would you recommend getting a loan to buy better equipment which would deliver better results for our clients, or would you keep your current equipment and save up to buy it with cash? I think that's a personal choice. If it's something that you feel is going to be an investment in the business, sometimes it's better to borrow the money. I know when I started my business, there were a number of times that I borrowed to build the business, and of course, I'm very glad that I did. And I think back initially when I first started investing in myself to really learn and expand my knowledge, I was borrowing the money, and I don't have any regrets on that whatsoever because it has changed my life in only positive ways. So it's a decision you have to make, what feels like the right thing for you to do. I think you'll know if it's going to help you serve people better and it's going to be an investment that's going to have a positive return, then you may want to take a look at getting the loan to improve the equipment. Or if you prefer to be somebody who wants to buy it with cash later and you can still deliver and provide great service to your clients, you may want to do it that way, but you get to decide. All right, everyone, we're going to call it a wrap for now. As I said, if there are additional questions that haven't been addressed, we will make sure that they are addressed in a future open Q&A call with Bob. It's my pleasure to serve you today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Actually, just looked at the clock. We got 2 more minutes. Hang on a second. I'm going to do some more questions. Hold on. Let's keep going. Sheila has a question here. What must an individual do? Let me just move this out of the way. I didn't just realize we had a couple minutes, so let's get to some more questions. What must an individual do to develop will and focus? I want to create successful working habits as I get distracted at times. Could you please give me a few tips? I love the suggestion that Bob makes. Bob talks about lighting a candle and staring at a candle for a predetermined period of time. It could only be a minute. It could be a couple minutes, but that is a great way to develop focus. Angie says, I've been building a ClickFunnels and drip sequence with ads. I feel I have the best funnel hack that fits with me. However, could you give me some suggestions on messaging? Great question, Angie. I would I've studied a lot of copywriting techniques, methodologies of using headings and ads that actually impact people emotionally. I actually saw there was a headline generator, a free tool that's online. Just look for it, Angie. It's called Headline Generator. It's something that allows you to build messages or ads or headlines that are very positive, and it's a free utility or a free tool that's online. You might want to do a Google search and find that. Christopher says, could it be said that intuition lives in our subconscious mind, given that intuition is generally recognized first as a feeling? Yeah, I guess so, but I think it also shows up as a thought, not only a feeling. So I think it's in our conscious and our subconscious mind. Every success begins with a single thought or goal in mind. How can one determine what their C-type goal is if they don't know how to get past their A and B type goal mentality? I would say the C-type goal is a goal that you have no idea how you're going to get to, but it scares you and excites you at the same time. It's something that you would love to experience. It's something that really inspires you. It's something that absolutely will stretch you, and that's how you know if it's a C-type goal. All right, now it's 6 o'clock, so thank you guys for sticking with me. I really appreciate being here and sharing. And I look forward to seeing you in another Proctor Gallagher event, whether it's Streaming Club or at one of the live events or maybe even on a Q&A call in the future. All right, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you again soon.